Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West, and we are going to continue what we've been doing since week 50 here on Third Age Thursdays, and that's looking at the poetry and songs from the Lord of the Rings. It's been nearly a year-long journey, and it's finally coming to an end. We started this on August 1st, 2024, believe it or not. Now, last week we praised Frodo and Sam with great praise at the field of Cormallen. This week, we go back to Minas Tirith and back in time a little bit for a song brought to you by the Eagles. No, not those Eagles. Now, first, I want to put this in both the larger context of the events of the chapter, but also the more intimate context of the two people coming together right before this moment. So I'm going to go from Book 6, Chapter 5, The Steward and the King. Éowyn has just said that she stands upon some dreadful brink, and it is utterly dark in the abyss before my feet. She says that she waits for some stroke of doom, and that's where I'll pick up. Yes, we wait for the stroke of doom, said Faramir. And they said no more, and it seemed to them as they stood upon the wall that the wind died, and the light failed, and the sun was bleared, and all sounds in the city or in the lands about were hushed. Neither wind nor voice, nor bird call, nor rustle of leaf, nor their own breath could be heard. The very beating of their hearts was stilled. Time halted. And as they stood so, their hands met and clasped, though they did not know it. And still they waited, for they knew not what. Then presently it seemed to them that above the ridges of the distant mountains another vast mountain of darkness rose, towering up like a wave that should engulf the world. And about it lightnings flickered, and then a tremor ran through the earth, and they felt the walls of the city quiver. A sound like a sigh went up from all the lands about them, and their hearts beat suddenly again. It reminds me of Númenor, said Faramir, and wondered to hear himself speak. Of Númenor, said Éowyn. Yes, said Faramir, of the land of Westernesse that foundered, and of the great dark wave climbing over the green lands and above the hills, and coming on, darkness unescapable. I often dream of it. Then you think that the darkness is coming, said Éowyn. Darkness unescapable? And suddenly she drew close to him. No, said Faramir, looking into her face. It was but a picture in the mind. I do not know what is happening. The reason of my waking mind tells me that great evil has befallen, and we stand at the end of days. But my heart says nay, and all my limbs are light, and a hope and joy are come to me that no reason can deny. Éowyn, White Lady of Rohan, in this hour I do not believe that any darkness will endure. And he stooped and kissed her brow. And so they stood on the walls of the city of Gondor, and a great wind rose and blew, and their hair, raven and golden, streamed out mingling in the air. And the shadow departed, and the sun was unveiled, and light leaped forth, and the waters of Anduin shone like silver, and in all the houses of the city men sang for the joy that welled up in their hearts from what source they could not tell. And before the sun had fallen far from the noon, out of the east there came a great eagle flying, and he bore tidings beyond hope from the lords of the west, crying, Sing now, ye people of the Tower of Anor, for the realm of Sauron is ended forever, and the dark tower is thrown down. Sing and rejoice, ye people of the Tower of Guard, for your watch hath not been in vain, and the black gate is broken, and your king hath passed through, and he is victorious. Sing and be glad, all ye children of the west, for your king shall come again, and he shall dwell among you all the days of your life. And the tree that was withered shall be renewed, and he shall plant it in the high places, and the city shall be blessed. Sing, all ye people. And the people sang in all the ways of the city. Now, I wanted to start with Éowyn and Faramir waiting for that stroke of doom, because it's the contrast between that darkness and that possible world-ending darkness and the light of victory that makes this eagle's song all the more potent. Now, Not knowing what it is, they actually witness the destruction of Barad-dûr and the eruption of Mount Doom. And this reminds Faramir of something that we think that he'd only read about, the destruction of Númenor. But indeed, he has actually seen it, in his dreams, repeatedly. The great green wave of darkness unescapable. And yet, despite this recollection of the dark nature of his dreams, Faramir feels something different, a hope, a joy. And we're about to see exactly why as the eagles deliver their song. Now first, I want to note something I didn't catch in all of my readings of this chapter until last year when Sarah Brown and I covered it on the PPP. This eagle wasn't sent by Gandalf. These tidings come directly from the Lords of the West. That's the Valar themselves. That's incredible, really. Manwë himself has sent word to Gondor of the victory of the West over Sauron. Now, the verses themselves are straightforward, albeit delivered in a unique style, and I'll get to that shortly. We get a reference to the people of the Tower of Anor. The original name of this city was Minas Anor, Tower of the Sun. We also see it referenced, though, by its current name, the Tower of Guard, Minas Tirith. But your guarding, the eagle says, has not been for nothing. The Morannon has been destroyed, and your king, which is something that Gondor hasn't had for 1,000 years, has won. And this bit about the king returning and dwelling there all the days of your life, that's not poetic exaggeration. Aragorn's not going to die until he's 210. He will reign as king for 122 years. So anybody alive today to hear the eagle's message is almost certainly going to die before Aragorn does. But interestingly, it's not just in Minas Tirith that he'll dwell. Sing and be glad, the eagle says, all ye children of the West. Aragorn is the king of both Gondor and Arnor. And we even get a prophecy about the withered tree. But let's talk a bit about this archaic style. Now, you may recall that Tolkien set the destruction of Sauron on March 25th. That's a date that, according to Tolkien's own religious traditions, was important. It was the date of the crucifixion and the date of the Annunciation, precisely 9 months before Christmas. And in fact, according to some traditional sources, March 25th was even the date of the fall of Adam and Eve. Now, we looked at this in the postscript for episode 321, when we took a deep dive into Tom Shippey's The Road to Middle-earth, where he wrote about this March 25th religious significance in classic Shippey style. It is possible to doubt whether this is a good idea, pointing out that hardly anyone would notice that significance, along with the significance of the departure of the company from Rivendell on December 25th, for that matter. He even adds in Author of the Century that Tolkien's point about March 25th is accordingly missed, as I think he intended. He inserted it only as a kind of signature, a personal mark of piety. Well, that same religious significance and symbolism shows up here too, Shippey pointing out there is no doubt here about Tolkien's stylistic model, which is the Bible, and particularly the Psalms. The use of ye and hath is enough to indicate that to most English readers, familiar with those words only from the authorized version. That, of course, is the King James Bible. He adds, but sing and rejoice echoes Psalm 33, rejoice in the Lord, while the whole of the poem is strongly reminiscent of Psalm 24, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lift up, ye everlasting doors, for the King of glory shall come in. Shippey, though, rightly points out right after that, of course, the eagle's song is not about that. When it says the black gate is broken, it means the Morannon. When it says your king shall come again, it means Aragorn. Yet the first statement could very easily apply to death and hell, the second to Christ and the second coming. And that certainly explains the really different style of this song to any of the others that we've looked at over the last 50 Third Age Thursdays. Folks, thank you for joining me for this week's Third Age Thursday and for so many of them. Now, be sure to come back tomorrow as we continue the story of Tuor on First Age Fridays and next series when we'll start something new on Thursdays. In the meantime, check out patreon.com/TolkienTimes to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, join my content council, get a bonus weekly episode, and more. Podcast listeners, please be sure to subscribe to the TTT in your podcast apps. For those on YouTube, subscribe to the channel to get all of the PPP productions, and be sure you're following @PrancingPonyPod on your social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.